Wow.
Folks are starting to come in. Both Lee Osler and Dr. Maureen are not with us tonight. We've got our phenomenal substitute by the name of Dr. Ray Dixon in Phuket, Thailand.
Hey there.
How you doing, Dr. Ray?
Bangkok today.
Oh, you're in Bangkok today. Oh, beautiful.
Oh, nice.
Love to get over there sometime. I've never been over there.
My daughter was in Thailand 2 whole weeks.
Yeah. And we got Russell Mariani. Guys, let us know who you are. James, I see you in Illinois, and I'm from New Zealand. I'm from Singapore, Australia. Yeah, so let us know where you're calling in. Again, Dr. Osler has actually 150 people reunion that he's at right now. 150 people. Oh my gosh.
Big reunion.
Big. So it's great grandmothers' families are there. So he's having a blast. And Dr. Hayes, continue to pray for them. They live in Galveston, Texas. And they had a hurricane go through there. And she just got her power back on from when did that hurricane hit?
Days and days and days. At least
on the weekend.
5 days.
On the weekend.
Yeah. 5 days, maybe.
Yeah. So she just now is getting her power back on and AC
That's crazy.
Back in. So she's on her way Monday to go to Africa on this amazing ASEA trip. So guys, we're so glad that you're with us. I'm Lenora. Hey, in West Texas. How are you? Colorado, Fountain Valley, Houston, Gold Coast, Melbourne. What was that?
Scotland.
Scotland.
Yeah.
I can't say it like you, Ray. You sound weird.
Aberdeen, Scotland.
So, guys, let's just jump right into it. Again, Jim and Ann Glenn, we're in San Antonio, Texas. We've been doing this show for a little over 5 years.
Yeah.
And so we love what we do, but I will say we are going to take a break for 2 weeks. We've been doing this, and Maureen's going to be in Africa actually for about 2 weeks. And so actually the key leaders for ASEA are leaving Monday to go to Africa as well for an amazing ASEA ministry trip. What do you call it?
Yeah,
Advancing Life Foundation.
Advancing Life. Thank you.
Advancing Life.
And they just have an absolute blast. So it's really great. Pray for them for safety.
Yep.
But tonight, and we love doing this Pay It Forward meeting. You know, and I was telling someone earlier, guys, that I started this, 5 whatever years ago. And the reason I did it is that I needed it. I did. I wanted to have professionals come on. I wanted to have testimonials come on because I wanted to stay engaged. I wanted to stay plugged in. Because if you disengage, and we have so many, and I am going to put a push real quick for Trish Schwenkler. She does have a medical, and I think, Ray, you're going to be doing that soon, if you haven't already, on Thursday evening. DiscoverASEA.com through August. She will be doing a Thursday evening show at 8 p.m. USA Central Time Zone, 9 p.m. Eastern Time Zone, where she's going to have medical experts. She had Ed Weens, a guest host, with Dr. Rich Michael yesterday, and it was an absolutely amazing call. And a lot of these videos are recorded. So again, we're going to be taking off with Dr. Osler and with Dr. Maureen for 2 weeks. We will be back, I think, August the 2nd.
All
but
right.
Tonight is really, and don't tell anybody I said this, guys, but I really enjoy when Russell Mariani comes on board, and we're really honored to have Dr. Ray Dixon. Dr. Ray, you are a wealth of knowledge, and Russell, even I'm tempted to still call you Dr. Mariani, even though I know you're not, but yet you have all the experience of a doctor. But real quick, if you don't mind, Ray, can you go ahead and give the disclaimer? Because we're going to be talking about some things that have changed in people's lives. And if you don't mind, Ray, just give a brief synopsis, and then, Russell, I want you to kick it off as well with your story. But Ray, what are we talking about tonight? Why are we here?
Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jim. Nice to see you again, Ann and Russell.
Yes.
We're talking about a new discovery, essentially. It's new technology, new discovery. The topic is redox signaling molecules, only discovered 1998 in the mitochondria of the cell in terms of their redox signaling capacity. Nitric oxide was the first one. There's 16 critical ones. They signal the DNA, regulate genes, genetic activity, and that's all been unraveling in the last 20 plus years.
Are we recording?
Oh,
We are.
thank you. Yeah, we are. Thank you.
We are.
See, I would have forgotten, Russell, but thank you for the reminder.
I'm sorry,
You
I couldn't see it. I'm sorry, Ray.
Yeah.
No problem.
All right.
So it's all about redox signaling molecules and the ability they have to help the body to heal itself, which brings us to the disclaimer. ASEA as a company do not claim to treat, cure, or prevent any disease with their redox products, which we'll be talking about today. They simply are providing the body with what it needs to heal itself. So essentially, it's an imbalance or deficiency in these redox signaling molecules, which we now know across the scientific world is leading to dis-ease, malfunctioning physiology. We're all made of cells. It doesn't matter if it's your brain, your skin, your kidneys, your gut, which Russell is an expert in. Those cells run on their mitochondria, which make energy, and the redox signaling molecules that we're talking about today. So ASEA is the first company in the world that's ever actually been able to create the same redox molecules that the human body makes and put them in a supplement and a gel. So the supplement is the redox liquid supplement we can drink. We'll be talking more about that. And the Reno 28 gel for external application. So it's critical to understand the human body doesn't care what the name of your disease is. The human body doesn't name your diseases. These are named by people, often the ones that discover them in some cases. So the body doesn't care what the name of the disease is. The body is lacking something to not be able to keep those cells healthy. This happens to be one of the critical things that it lacks.
Ray, real quick, give us your credentials. You're Dr. Ray Dixon. Give us your background, please, so people know.
I graduated 1973 as an osteopath, 1974 as a naturopath, 1982 as a chiropractor. Along the way, I've done acupuncture, dry needling. Obviously, naturopathic work is herbal medicine, nutritional medicine. I lectured at the Australian College of Natural Medicine for 16 and a half years in the science department. And by the way, that concluded in 2017, June, and they were not teaching or training in the science department redox signaling. Because that's when I finished lecturing at bachelor degree science health practitioner level, because all those students were coming through to become acupuncturists, Chinese medicine practitioners, naturopaths, herbalists, nutritionists. So that's how new this is. And so that's how we've all come together as we've discovered it ourselves on our own journeys. And the more we've engaged and the more we see the remarkable consequences of people using the products, the more we engage and the more we want to share it with as many people around the world as we possibly can. Our congratulations to you two for being involved in this show every week for 5 years, because this is one of the greatest educational shows, I'll call it a show, in the ASEA world. But we have many, as you said, and we're very blessed with that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ray. Okay, Russell, who are you? Why are you here?
How did you hear about us?
Give us your story and your story. And I guess the reason I connect with you, Russell, is that when I was in college, I as well had an episode that it scared me, but it didn't scare me as much as yours scared you. So that's kind of why I think we have a little bit of maybe I have a tie to you because of that, because it was very, very scary what happened to me, and I know with you. So give us a little bit about who is Russell Mariani. I know you are a published author. If you don't mind, kind of hold up the book if you have it. You may not.
I don't have it with
In
me.
a different place, huh?
We have it somewhere here, but there it is.
I had a little bit of a family emergency this week.
Oh, that's right. The triage.
I'm down in New Jersey at my sister's house in the dining room here, and they're away, and I'm taking care of my 100-year-old father and my 91-year-old mother. And
that's amazing.
If it wasn't for this
hard.
blessing here, anyway, it made a big difference in my dad's health over the last 13 years, but had a little crisis this week, and giving a little extra redox signaling molecules helped him come right back pretty quickly. So,
Great.
so you mentioned earlier. So, Jim, yes, you and I are in the inflammatory bowel club. We've had episode and issues in that area. So, we are brothers in that way. So, I am not a medical doctor, but I have a lot of friends who are medical doctors, and I have a lot of clients who, over the years, medical doctors have been clients of mine. And I teach medical doctors, what I've learned over the years, so they can be more effective in their practice and helping other people. But when Ray was graduating from osteopathic school, that's when I got the bad news about my condition, which, of course, for many, as like many other people, what initially came to me as a curse turned out to be a blessing because it changed my life. In 1973, at the age of 18, I was given a medical diagnosis of an incurable inflammatory bowel condition, a type of colitis. Was told that I'd have to be on medication every day for the rest of my life and most likely need surgery before the age of 25. And I had been perfectly healthy a year before this, but a year prior to all this happening, I went on a crazy high protein diet because my high school basketball coach asked me to do that. So I did that. And pretty soon after, I started getting these symptoms, but never connected the dots until that day after a colonoscopy back in 1973, and was told that I might have colon cancer. So after I picked my jaw up off the floor, I asked the doctor, do you think this has anything to do with my diet? And of course, his answer changed my life because he said, no, your condition has absolutely nothing to do with your diet. And I said, well, how did this happen? What causes this? And he said, we don't know. Stress. And he left it at that. So we didn't have an internet at the time. I went to the public library and started doing research on colon health and nutrition and disease and all these things, and very quickly found that there were definite connections between a low fiber diet, a lack of vegetables, the lack of fruit, the lack of grains, and too much meat and cheese and fat that easily could cause or contribute to this type of condition. So that's how I got started. In my quest, I found people very soon in my journey who were extremely helpful to me. And within a matter of a few months, I started getting better. And a few months after that, I was 100% better. So I went back to school to learn nutrition and health. And back then, there really weren't any, major universities who were giving degrees in alternative health and certainly not nutrition. So I went to a school in Boston, graduated in 1979, and ran a center for a couple of years, taught nutrition, taught meditation, taught yoga, taught shiatsu, acupuncture, and so been in practice since 1980. And basically, the way I describe what I've learned throughout all these years is the fundamentals of integrative medicine, the fundamentals of functional nutrition or functional medicine. And as Ray said in his introduction, when we're talking about health, we're talking about the health of our cells. If our cells are healthy, it doesn't matter, brain cells, lung cells, kidney cells, liver cells. If those cells are healthy and functioning normally, we will not manifest any negative symptoms. And so learning what cells need in order to function normally is the key, is the essence to the type of health education I provide to others. And as everyone knows, hydration is part of that equation. Every cell of the body requires a certain amount of water and minerals and vitamins and oxygen in order for that cell to do its miraculous work. And again, as Ray said in 1997, 1998, biology and medicine made an amazing discovery when they realized that, oh, aside from water and minerals and vitamins and antioxidants, the cell manufactures these amazing molecules called redox signaling molecules. And they control everything. They activate everything. The detection. The second a cell becomes damaged, it's the redox signaling molecules in that cell that say, oh, there's a problem over there, and signal to the nucleus of that cell for the codes that will fix and repair that damage. So what we've learned is that, again, as Ray said, if there's a deficiency and imbalance of these redox signaling molecules in the cell cannot function properly. So the breakthrough that we're talking about tonight, the breakthrough that is ASEA Redox, is that for the first time in history, we can bio-replenish our cells with the very same identical molecules that every healthy cell produces in abundance. But the unhealthy cells are lacking. And so we can take in supplement form these redox signaling molecules, and guess what? Things that were dysfunctioning start to function normally again. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. And there it is.
Russell, can you, for a lot of people that are not listening, watching the recording, have never seen this before, when I look at the bottle, says it's a dietary supplement, then I flip it over to the back, and you already know what I'm going to say.
Yes.
Sodium chloride and water. You've got to be kidding me.
Right.
Could you please, both of you, Russell first, could you please address that? Because people are baffled with that.
Right. So again, the simple answer is this is just as the cells of our body manufacture the redox molecules out of the saline solution inside of our cell. It's a liquid called cytosol. Floating in that liquid, it is mostly a saline solution, but there are other compounds. And then the body knows how to produce these redox molecules. So the company, the scientists, starting with pristine water, distilled water, pure H2O, and pure sodium chloride, which does not exist in nature, literally pure sodium, pure chloride, pure oxygen, pure hydrogen, put those elements through an electrochemical process, a highly patented process, where the atoms are broken down into their subatomic particles and reconfigured into redox signaling molecules. And that's what we have. So it's hard to explain all that on a label. But Ray, you pick it up from there.
Yeah, Ray, fill in the gaps if there are any. That was wonderful, Russell.
Yeah.
Well, there really isn't any. I mean, the mitochondria and the Krebs cycle, which is a complex cycle, the bane of many a medical student because it is so complex to create
Russell,
energy.
I'm sorry. Ray, real quick, explain again. I was a jock in school, maybe like Russell. My dad was a doctor. I'm not. Can you please explain what is the mitochondria? Let's get down to the basics. What is that?
Well, the cell is a universe unto itself. So the first analogy you can make is your body is full of cells, your cells, physiologically, physically speaking, and those cells are alive because of mitochondria. The cell has its own organs like you do. So the cell has organelles. So that's the term, organelles. And there are ones that ribosomes that make proteins, and there are ones endoplasmic reticulum, and there's Golgi apparatus, and there's mitochondria. Probably next to the nucleus, the mitochondria would be the most important organelle because it's critical to the health and the functioning of that cell. That cell would be dead without the mitochondria, except red blood cells. That's the only cell in the human body that does not have mitochondria. They're just sacs of hemoglobin carrying oxygen. Every other cell was 200 types, so that's 199, 100 trillion have mitochondria. Some of those cells have 5,000 mitochondria. A heart cell has approximately 5,000 mitochondria. So this is the powerhouse. This is where the energy is made to run everything. And the mitochondria in the Krebs cycle, as Russell has said, also apart from creating the energy, which is ATP, adenosine triphosphate, creates redox signaling molecules. The exact ones that ASEA is now able to identically make when they go through the electrochemical process to break up those atoms and reconstitute them into the redox molecules. The label doesn't list all of the redox signaling molecules because they're made from salt water. They come from salt water, exactly like inside of your cells. Now, it should be emphasized, there's a bit of downplaying on salt water unnecessarily. You would also be dead without salt water. So never underestimate the power of salt water. It's an electrolyte critical component of the human body. Your blood is mainly saline. Your extracellular fluid all around the cells is saline. And intracellularly, as Russell said in the cytosol, which is inside the cell, is saline. And inside the nucleus, where your DNA is saline as well. So one should not be always understating and underplaying because it's salt water. However, redox signaling molecules, you can have them in the saline solution or you can not. So you can have salt water with no redox molecules in it. That will not have the same health benefits. It's the redox signaling molecules, which is the critical discovery post-1998, and it's certainly in the 2000s where this was first being able to be made and stabilized. They're very fleeting. They provide those very powerful signals that Russell has said, critical signals, not just to the damage of a cell, and therefore to how to heal the cell. That healing of the cell, by the way, takes place in the organelles as well. Detoxification takes place in the organelles of the cell. Everything takes place in the organelles of the cell. Your immune system is cells. And some of that signaling is critical to removing damaged cells which cannot be healed. So if a cell is so badly damaged that it can't be healed, it is also redox signaling molecules that signal the immune cells like T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes, natural killer lymphocytes, to kill that cell. Now, just imagine if a cell is so badly damaged, it can't perform normal functions, it can't be regulated in its critical numbers. So now all of a sudden it's not performing normal functions, it's proliferating out of control. Well, that's what a tumor is. And if that cell continues to replicate itself out of control, well, that's what malignancy is. That's what a malignant tumor is. So these are critical issues. And perhaps just quickly, people will be wondering, well, if we make them, why do we need the supplement?
I was just getting ready to ask that.
Yeah. And the critical thing is you peak manufacture redox molecules at healthy puberty. So I'm 68, so I'm a long way past healthy puberty. We decline at 10% per decade in production of trillions of these things. I would be down to making 50% of what I made as a 15, 14-year-old. So that's why we all need them. So let's see what Russell can contribute to.
Well, unfortunately, I had a little blackout here in New Jersey. The electricity went off, so I had to shut down and reboot and come in. So I only caught the last minute of what you were sharing there, Ray.
That's what you get for living in visiting New Jersey.
I'm visiting.
I know, I said visiting.
I grew up here.
We just talked about the mitochondria and the Krebs cycle and making critical redox molecules from the salt water.
Right. So one of the things that you said just before I got cut off was you were talking about salt water, how important that is and how people don't really realize that. But almost every person who is admitted into the emergency room in any hospital in America and most places around the world are going to be given an IV solution of salt water because it's the most critical balance, the balance between sodium and potassium in the body. And so salt water is a very important thing. We were talking before we came live on the show here about something that I've been teaching since the mid-90s that we refer to as the water cure. It's a means of proper hydration, and it involves drinking purified water in a small amount of sea salt. So this was something that I learned, something that another thing that really made a big difference in my health, and I shared it with many other people. When I was first introduced to ASEA Redox, I did the same thing, Jim. I looked at the bottle and it said, "This is salt water." Now, unlike a lot of other people, I said, because I was already drinking salt water every day, I thought, well, there's probably something to this. I don't know what redox molecules are, but if they're made from salt and water, I'm interested in learning more about that. And so the rest, as they say, is history.
Well, and I had a pharmacist I work with down in Texas, and the first question he asked me, he said, "Jim, cut through all this stuff." He said, "What does this stuff make from?" And when I said saline, he said, "Sign me up." I said, "No, wait a minute. No one's ever said that." And he goes, "Jim, as a pharmacist, I knew with 75% of the body salt water, it's only logical to assume that this breakthrough native to the body had to be made from salt water." So he goes, "You guys figured it out, and I didn't even know what it is." He still doesn't know what it is, but he knows that it works. Man.
Well, it's truly the process of it, not so much get caught up in the two ingredients, because it is how it was made and the patents and why it works. But I was thinking about your background, back when you first were in your gut healing journey, food was made different than it is today. So I'm sure in your practice, you have seen more people having gut issues now than maybe when you first started. And I'm sure as you're educating people, yes, the right amount of water, right amount of exercise, right amount of sleep, but that missing link is truly the redox signaling molecules, because I'm sure there are some people you can tell them all day long, do this, do that in your nutrition, and just beating it down, and some won't listen. But if they would just incorporate the redox signaling, that's what makes everything else in good health work better. Don't you agree, Russell?
I agree. It's absolutely, the most foundational aspect of our physiology. I mean, it's right there next to oxygen and water. There isn't anything more fundamental to the activities occurring in every cell of our body than redox signaling. I did not know that 13 years ago, but I know that today, and it's 100% true. And it's true. I've met hundreds of people over the last 13 years in the ASEA community who had IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, who had one or more different type of inflammatory bowel conditions. And they would say to me, once they, found out that I was a gut health expert, they would say the only change that they made was adding the redox, and they got better. And I would ask them all kinds of questions, trying to understand how that was possible. Part of the reason why it's possible is because not only is the redox improving the gut cells, the bacteria that live in the gut cell, the lining cells on the wall of the intestines, but literally the redox molecules know the difference between the healthy organism, the probiotics, and the unhealthy organisms. And often that's the driving force behind many of these symptoms. So here, without a person changing their diet, they're feeding the healthy organisms by drinking the redox supplement. It's really amazing. But I would be remiss if I didn't use this particular opportunity right now, based on the question you asked, Ann, to say that it's true that these inflammatory bowel conditions are more prevalent today than they were 50 years ago, and they're more prevalent among young people. One of the stories I tell was, I went to the office in 1973 to get this colonoscopy, and I had a 9 o'clock appointment. They didn't take me in until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The nurse finally came out when I was the only person in the room, and she said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I had a 9 o'clock appointment." She said, "We never see 18-year-old people. All of our patients are 50 years or older. But today, more than half of my practice is teenagers and people in their 20s. Now, prior to 100 years ago, the only food that was available to most people on earth was organic food. and they didn't call it organic food. It was just food. The use of herbicides and pesticides did not really become popular until after World War II, so after 1945. So here's something really amazing. It's terrible fact, but it's an important fact for people to know. One of the pesticides used to kill the bugs that are eating the food crops, the way that the pesticide works is to blow holes in the intestines of the grasshoppers, to blow holes in the intestines of the insects. So when people consume food that has residues of those type of pesticides, they end up with these microscopic holes in their gut. So, and then that leads to all kinds of problems. So the number one reason to purchase organic food is that the food is free of herbicides, pesticide residues, it's free of chemicals. It's food, it's the nutrients in the soil, the way nature intended. And so that's the first step on the path to healing ourselves without question. And right next to that, if you are so lucky to learn about the redox signaling molecules, is to begin implementing that right away. And maybe we should talk about, startup dosages and things like that.
Well, and just real quick to add to, since you brought up food and nutrition, if you incorporate our 4 via Source, LifeMax, Omega, and of course Biome to heal the gut, add that to, combat some of this unhealthy diet that the majority of the Western, American diet is just not good. And so you supplement, because ours is whole food, then you're going to get those nutrients that are like in Source, the superfoods and so on, the enzymes. And now our body can start getting the real food versus what we lack wherever people go and shop or cook or eat, or restaurants, which are the worst. But so
yes, 100%. No, I'm
out.
Glad you brought that up, Ann. 100% when I walk people through my program, they're getting started on the Redox supplements, the Redox drink, the Redox supplement, and the gel, and Source, and Biome, LifeMax, and Omega, those 4 nutritional products, because people need those micronutrients. People need enzyme-rich food. People need antioxidant-rich food, and people need a full-spectrum probiotic. And so when you combine the Redox supplements with our nutritional supplements, we really are a complete and total cellular health company. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah. So, Jim,
Ray, do you have those same issues? Your home country's Australia. You're now in Thailand living. But do you see the similar type issues there with the gut? It's Russell, I've heard in the States, I've heard a number as high as 53% of USA population at some point in time have issues with their gut. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. But Dr. Ray, are you seeing that same where you travel that side of the world?
Are you asking in Asia, or it's a very different world in Asia to the Western world? I must say it's a bit of a time warp lapse, which actually verifies what you're saying, and it verifies what Russell's saying. I come and live in Thailand in 2018, and the majority of people are normal weighted, or what we would probably say are underweight. They're not. They're perfectly weighted for they eat well. In fact, they love it. They love their food here. Thailand, they're like rabbits. I mean, they're eating raw carrots and lettuce, and they have this plethora on the table when they're eating. They eat far better than me. I eat more cooked food than they do, but they just love their fruits, their vegetables, growing it themselves. Obviously, not entirely. We're following the Asia is following the West. I'm watching it happen. They're already talking about the beginnings of an obesity epidemic in Thailand, and yet I can't find them. If you walk anywhere today, I'll have 100 people in front of me at SEA headquarters, Bangkok. There's probably if 1 or 2 overweight. That is a complete different scenario to the Western world, US and Australia, where it's the absolute opposite. So massive changes have occurred all along the lines of junk food, refined food, and toxic food. All those chemicals we're talking about, insecticides and pesticides, and chlorine in the water supply, and fluoride for that matter. I mean, these are not good for you, and they've created imbalances in the human body. Now, your gut is central to health. Now, I'm not a great fan of taking apart all the systems of the body. I taught them all for 16 years. The body is the body, and all your systems matter, okay? Your nervous system, your digestive system, your urinary system, your skin, it all matters. And without any of them, you're dead. You wouldn't exist. But, the gut, nonetheless, the reason you have a digestive system is because the materials we're talking about, the vitamins, the minerals, the carbohydrates, fats, and proteins, are not ready for the cells. In most cases, that is not cellular nutrition until it is digested. So it is the gut and the digestive system that breaks those food components down. But they also need to be able to then eliminate what's not necessary through the bowel, then absorb those nutrients, not absorb toxins, as in the leaky gut and the holes in your intestines that Russell was referring to. You get that stuff in the blood, that's not good. Okay, so it's not only going to create gut issues, it's going to create massive internal issues as well. And then the list goes on, and then every system in the human body is affected. So digestion is certainly critical. And if I can just add one quick point, when Russell made a very important point when he talked to people using a sear that had not changed their diet in any way, but their gut was functioning a lot better. And he was fascinated to know, because he's a student of gut health. Ever since his own experience at such a young age. And that's a very diabolical condition, I can tell you. You'll be anemic within days, and you'll have blood pouring out your back passage. I mean, that's what Russell's been through. But remember, all cells run on redox. And redox signaling molecules will also increase the efficiency of the cells that make your enzymes, your digestive enzymes. There are many of them. They're coming from your liver. They're coming from your pancreas. They're coming from your stomach. They're coming from your small intestinal wall, a myriad of enzymes. So all of a sudden, as you're on redox, you're more effectively producing those enzymes, quite apart from the healing of the tight junctions that heals the leaky gut. So there's a whole lot of reasons why being on redox, even without changing your diet, I'm not encouraging that because you should be on a healthy diet, but even without doing that, as to why people would get results on redox.
Right.
Russell, can you
that was very well said, by the way, Ray. That was great. That connected a lot of dots there. I could see, without being able to see everybody, I could see a lot of heads nodding. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. So that was great.
And I want to get to how much should people drink of the redox. But Russell, if you don't mind, because I think this is your field, but pre and probiotic. Why is that important in the gut?
So I can't get this phrase out of my head when Ray was talking. Everything is downstream of the microbiome. When you look at the body, we talked earlier about cells. There's about 100 trillion cells when we think of what we normally think of the body. But living in the gut, the mouth, the throat, the stomach, 24 feet of small intestine, 5 to 6 feet of large intestine, is a number of individual organisms 1,000 times 100 trillion. So if we were to define the human body just by the number of cells, our gut is like 90% of the cells. So it's part of the reason why the gut affects everything, partly because of what Ray said about leaky gut. Once those toxins start spilling out of the intestines, they affect everything downstream. So gut health is a key, not only to the health of everything else, but particularly the immune system. And I know we'll get to that at some point. But probiotics and prebiotics. So if we were to take 100 human beings off the streets of all major cities of the world and examine, and they're all healthy people, and examine their gut, we would discover that 80% or more of the organisms living in their gut were probiotic. They had a healthy balance. They had much diversity of these probiotic organisms. And those probiotic organisms eat their food, produce waste, and the waste products of the probiotics are all amazing, important contributions to the rest of our health. Some of the waste products are B vitamins, which are components of our immune system. Some of the waste products are antibiotics. The most powerful antibiotics ever discovered are manufactured from the probiotics in our gut. As Ray was describing, the probiotics also create enzymes, digestive enzymes, and other kinds of enzymes. The waste products include hormones that regulate pH and all kinds of other things. So that's the healthy probiotics. Prebiotics are foods that the probiotics love. Prebiotics are foods that nourish and strengthen and help proliferate the healthy organism. So that's a critical, important thing to know, because what most people do every day is they eat food that is not conducive to the health and prosperity, if you will, of the healthy organisms. They're feeding the bad organisms. That's what takes over their system. That's what causes inflammation. That's what causes the leaky gut. And then those toxins spill out, and some people have sore joints, and some people break out in a terrible skin. Some people have breathing problems. But all of those problems started in an imbalanced gut bacteria. So it's
and that's what's great about
than that. But
yeah, and that's what's great about our biome is having the prebiotics and the probiotics on top of slippery elm. So I mean, it's the perfect supplement for those that want to see the improved gut health.
So what are some basic foods then, Russell and Ray, that you can eat that would help feed that?
Yeah, so, and thank you. You know, you always do such a great job of bringing our products back into the conversation. And what she said is absolutely true. One of the things that makes our biome probiotics stand out from many other probiotics is that it contains the prebiotics. It's like we give the probiotics their lunch. They go right to work in the body, and they're already in a much better balanced situation because of the prebiotics. My favorite prebiotics in my work are all organic quality, but cooked whole grains. The fiber from cooked whole grains is a favorite food of the probiotics. Root vegetables like carrots and parsnips and onions and garlic, you know, the traditional root vegetables, some raw, some cooked. Cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, green leafy vegetables like kale and collard greens and bok choy and Chinese cabbage and spinach and things like that. And then vine vegetables, basically all the other vegetables that we haven't mentioned yet. So the most important prebiotics in the traditional diet were cooked grains, fermented grains, cooked beans, fermented beans, cooked vegetables, fresh vegetables, and fermented vegetables. These were the basic staples.
And notice how most of what you just listed, I mean, it's so natural. And none in that list is processed food. None in that list is canned food. None of that list is laden with all the stuff if people would just look at the labels of what they consume. But, you know, the cruciferous are cancer-fighting vegetables. And, you know, you can live on those things and even get enough protein from many of the vegetables that are out there. But it is harder to, that's why I like the simplicity. I was sharing with somebody brand new on the product today. You drink it and you rub it. I mean, how hard is that? When you're talking nutrition, it's a whole lot harder to make somebody remember and do all the things. And the body doesn't assimilate the vitamins that you did when you were younger. So you're already not even really getting all your nutrients, which is why you need our 4 whole food vitamins. So redox signaling is just
Ray
simple.
alluded to this. So you're right. So when we eat any food, it first has to be broken down so that our body can then assimilate the protein, carbohydrate, fat, vitamins, minerals, trace minerals, amino acids. All of that assimilation happens in the small intestine through the probiotics, through the microbiome. So what happens with a lot of people is their microbiome is out of balance. They don't have active enzymes. They don't have healthy probiotics. And so even if they start to eat good food, they're not getting full assimilation of those micronutrients. And so in those cases, absolutely, they need supplemental nutrition. Okay? So that's a critically important function of the digestive system, to break food down, pull out all the nutrients, drive all those micronutrients into the bloodstream from the intestines to the liver, and from there, final processing and out to the rest of the body. And the body, the intestines, are smart enough to know the difference between the healthy micronutrients that they want to absorb and assimilate, and the rest goes down as waste.
Right.
So, the reason we want to do this and will continue doing this Pay It Forward program is to give people hope. Ray, a lot of them in this country, but people are suffering. Where I was, I had a lot of discomfort. I had gained a lot of extra weight. Is it ever too late to make the changes necessary to start getting healthy?
No, it's never too late. I think this is because I state it as the greatest health product that I've ever worked with, and personally I believe has ever been discovered. And that is a common statement I make. And so I kind of see miraculous results on almost a daily basis now. And I tend to almost hesitate to say it because people don't believe in miracles anymore. So, but this is a miraculous product that allows the body to heal itself. And if I can just give you an example of, is it ever too late? I remember a few years ago, a lady that was 91, terrible neurologic Parkinson's, confined to bed, couldn't swallow, couldn't eat, couldn't talk. Son was a cardiologist, a heart specialist. This is in France. And a good friend who was another miracle that I'd met at 70 in Phuket, Thailand, their memory issues and fully diagnosed, completely reversed in 6 weeks on this product. So that person had mentioned it to the cardiologist. The cardiologist gave it to his mother. Now, 91, confined to bed. Now, just imagine, you can't eat, you can't swallow, you can't talk. She was not capable of doing her physiotherapy exercises in the bed, which would just be resistance exercises. What else could you do? That person, within a month or 2, could eat, swallow, talk, get out of bed, do the exercises in bed. Now, that person died a year later. Now, that to me is a success story. They had some quality. There was miraculous changes for that final 12 months. So, no, it's never too late.
That's right.
Russell, you mentioned your father. Could you go ahead and just real quick before you go in, he was drinking a bottle the last 3 days, I believe, every day. But can you go into what your recommendations are to people with the Redox on how much should they take?
Sure. Yeah, I want to agree with Ray.
And then same thing with you, Ray.
It's never too late. Don't lose hope. The body has an almost infinite capacity to regenerate and heal itself when it's given the opportunity to do so. And there may not be a greater opportunity than providing redox signaling molecules to anybody under any circumstances. My dad has been drinking. Oh, sorry.
Could you repeat that again? Because that was one of the more powerful statements I think I maybe have ever heard. The body has the infinite capacity.
Yeah, the body has an almost infinite capacity to regenerate and heal itself when given the opportunity to do so. That opportunity is raw materials. That opportunity is nutrition. That opportunity is a redox signaling supplement. There may not be a greater opportunity for the body to do what it's constantly trying to do, which is to heal itself, than to provide that body with redox signaling molecules. At the most fundamental level of cellular activity, every cell is genetically programmed to detect damage as it's happening, to repair the damage before it becomes really destructive. And then once all that repair has been done, to maintain the health of that cell. All of those activities and many more are all done through redox signaling.
So when people,
go ahead.
when people come in, do you have them typically start on what the bottle says, 4 ounces a day? Or do you find you're going to see a more ramp up result if they would start at, say, 6 ounces, 8 ounces, and see how the body does with the higher quantity?
So I've had 4 or 5 conversations like this week, and I've been doing this a long time, 13 years. And the maybe the most important thing that I've learned in the 13 years introducing people to redox signaling supplements, 2 things. One, people need to take more in the beginning. And I used to be very shy about this. I'm not shy anymore. I've seen too many amazing stories. I've talked to too many people. I know, as Ray knows, as you know, that for so many people, it's not a matter of if, it's only a matter of when.
Right.
And when is determined by how much they're going to consume. So that's the first thing that I've learned. We want to be encouraging people to take more in the beginning. But whether or not we're successful in having people take more depends on their level of information, depends on their level of confidence about what this is and what it can do for them. So even as a practitioner, maybe because I'm a practitioner, what I do is not duplicatable. I'm investing more time. I'm asking people to invest time in, go to realredoxresults.com, watch that 10-minute overview presentation, maybe watch it 2 times, maybe watch it 5 times, maybe watch it 10 times, and write down any questions you have, and then let's have a conversation. And then watch the first 3 video testimonials on that website. And when you finish doing that, watch the next 3 videos on that website, and then let's have a conversation. I'll tell you the truth. I've been in some conversations with people, and I'll ask them questions, and I'll say to them that they'll say something to me like, "Oh, I just want to buy it." And I'll say, "Let's slow down. I don't think you're ready yet." Because it's not a matter of if. I don't want you trying and thinking, well, maybe it'll work, maybe it won't work. It works. It's well-established science. What we want to do, we want to make sure that you have informed yourself so that you're calling me back and saying, "Oh my God, I get it. I totally get it. I can't wait to put these molecules in my body. And I understand that I'll start off at 4 ounces a day, and then maybe I'll go to 8 ounces a day, and maybe I'll go to 16 ounces a day. I get it. I'm open to that." Because when you have that conversation, it's highly unlikely that people are going to ask for their money back. It's highly unlikely that they're going to have a bad experience. You know, it just takes all that off the table because people have correct expectations, and they're very excited that you took the time to educate them properly. So,
yeah. And that site, that Real Redox Results site, the password is Redox for those that might be writing that down, REDOX, little letters.
Well, Russell, that was one of the best. Conrad, I may cut that out of this video and make that a video because that was powerful what you said. Thank you. That really was. Russ or Dr. Ray, would you add to that? What would be your,
Well,
what would you say about that?
What have
Well,
you
my first
seen?
comment my first comment is what you just said regarding Russell. That was a masterclass in education. What Russell has done is deduced and distilled over 13 years how best to get people educated. Mm-hmm. And when people are not educated, they make wrong decisions and they make miscalculations because they don't understand the concepts. There is no test for deficiency. That you cannot do a saliva test or a blood test and say, well, you need 4 ounces a day and you need 6 ounces a day and you need 16 ounces a day. There is no test for that. So we are all deficient. We don't know how deficient we are. But I'll give you 2 criteria. The older you are and the sicker you are, the more deficient you are. That's absolutes. They're absolutes. The older you are, the sicker you are, the more deficient you are. And even as a child sick, you're deficient. So it's that simple. Now, how do we find the right amount for you? Well, this comes through experience. And this is why Russell put so much emphasis on people's education, so they get it. And they will move it to the level of getting the results because they already know the results are coming. There is no results on Redox. There is you're not taking enough of it or you're not taking it for long enough to get the results, to see the results. There is no results. You just didn't get there because you didn't give yourself the opportunity or time or the right amount. On the basis of how much you need, I did notice it was an interesting comment that Russell said about you need more to begin with. Where he's landed there is more's better than less. So it's very simple. More is better than less. And I remind everyone there is no toxicity. You can't take too much. It will go back to salt water, which you're full of, and there is no allergenicity. So let's be very clear. You can't take too much. You don't know how much you need.
And it's compatible with all medications. No drug interaction.
Yeah, that's right.
Correct. So really the recommended dose on the bottle being 2 of the little plastic cups a day. And let's, for the metric people, give it metric as well. The cup is 2 ounces, so 2 cups is 4 ounces. The cup is 60 mil, so 2 cups is 120 mil. So we often, as we get educated, are very much aware that this is a beginning amount. They call it the maintenance amount. I'm not so sure I would call it the maintenance amount because my maintenance amount might be double that. Okay, so it's really a beginning amount. So why would we begin there? Because it works. And 2, the one thing we haven't discussed today is the process of healing. The process of healing is detoxifying. The body must detoxify to heal. And if it doesn't detoxify, well, what you're doing isn't working. It's that simple. This is the most powerful detoxifying product in the world because it works better than any other product. That's why. So your body will detoxify. You will have more waste going through the skin, through the breath, through the bowel, and through the liver and the intestines and out your back passage. Well, that has to be, the mobilizing will take place from the redox. But you need water as a medium to move it, which is why Russell said hydration is so critical. So you must be drinking plenty of that clean water that he mentioned. So for me, it's generally 2 cups a day that people start on, the 4 ounces, the 120 mil. And that's not where their destination is. That's their beginning, because I don't want to rock the boat with too much initial detox too quickly. I have had instances with toxic black mold and other conditions where people had to start on less than that to get through that process. My destination for pretty much everybody is 4 cups a day. It became known in the US as the magic 8 ounces for a reason, because that's where magic happens more for people. And it's sad to me if you don't get that result quickly enough to satisfy them, they give up. You lose them. Mm-hmm. And their miracle that would have come will never come because they've now got off it and moved on. That's why I believe, and Russell can correct me if I'm wrong, that Russell likes to get them up more quickly because he wants that result for them. We're all about you getting better. We're all about you feeling better, more energy, better sleep, conditions disappearing. That's what we want. And that happens far more on the 4 cups. Now, let me just say something very quickly, if I may. The company often and constantly is thinking how to help you more, everyone more. So they brought out that Essentials bundle,
Yes.
which is 6 bottles for the month with a one at Redo 28. That allows you to take 3 cups per day. But let me remind you, 3 cups per day today is 4 cups of 2017 and before, because there's now 30% more redox signaling molecules in every bottle because of the improved manufacturing process. And that's where the genetic studies show dramatic changes. So my destination, almost minimum for everybody, is 4 cups. But beyond that, it's how old are you? How sick are you? How is your results? Keep moving up until you get those results. I take 6 cups per day. I'm not sick. I have no known disease process. I sleep well, my energy is good, but I take 6. Why? I'm 68, age, disease. I don't want the diseases that come with age. So I'm not going to take that risk. So I'm on 6.
And if you incorporate, that was great. And if you incorporate the Renew 28 on the skin, the largest organ, you're going to see results even quicker. And you can apply the gel really anywhere. You can apply it to the lymph nodes and improve your immune system. You can apply it to your kidneys and improve the function of the kidneys, and so on, all the way to the toes. But if people would use Renew 28 at minimum twice a day, more often as things could arise, but you would definitely see a shift in some of the things that maybe are not quite moving and be on it long enough. Minimum, right? 90% see a change in 90 days. Don't just get off after 30 days. Oh, it didn't work. You haven't given it time to regenerate.
Hey, real quick, Russell, can you talk about, does it matter whether you have a full stomach or not? And then 5 minutes before, 5 minutes after, hold it in your mouth and swish, correct? Is that what you recommend?
Yes. Yes. Okay. It's better absorbed on an empty stomach than a full stomach. In the same way, we don't mix it with anything ever. We ideally you have an empty stomach so that it goes immediately into your bloodstream. I just want to say quickly, it's not about speed. It's about an organic process. And as Ray was, if we could help people understand that their body is hardwired to heal. Their body wants to function normally. They may not know that. They may not have experienced that for a very long time, but that is the reality. And redox signaling molecules, as much or more than anything else that exists, is going to help those damaged cells to repair. It's going to help those toxic cells to detoxify. So it's not a matter of speed. Once somebody says yes to me, they've said yes to a minimum 3 to 6 months of using the products correctly and consistently with my guidance, or I won't sponsor them.
Yeah.
Guys, there's a bit of confusion on the cup. So when we talk about the ASEA cup, this is it. It comes in the box.
Right.
And this is the 2-ounce plastic cup or the 60 ml cup. You can use glass, you can use plastic. So it's really a measure. So it's 2 ounces or 60 ml. Standard beginning is 2 of those a day. That's the standard recommendation. So it's really important to understand this is what we mean by a cup. It's not a cup of tea, it's not China, or, it's a measure, it's a measurement. And what Russell's just said, if I can just quickly add to that, is it's true. The body is hardwired to heal. It's an innate inner doctor. The body's designed to heal itself, providing it gets the materials that it needs. And in the process of healing, it's a journey. You can't heal in a second. It's just, you didn't get sick in a second either. Most of that took years. Fortunately, you can heal a lot quicker than you got sick, the time it took. But if you get the right materials. So it's a process, it's a journey. But miracles happen all the time in 3 to 6 months, as Russell has said. And 6 months is not a long time. This is not symptom relief. Symptom relief is not healing. It's masking. So the healing journey is the curative journey. The problem will go. And it also should be added, there is a retracing process, working back out of diseases that you work through to get into your disease. So it's not uncommon that as you're healing, something you had 10 years ago or 5 years ago pops back up as something else disappears. It's a healing process. It's a retracing journey. But everybody that takes enough of this for long enough lands with the best health they could possibly have at any given age.
That's right.
Wow.
This is great.
Yeah, we're
Jam-packed
at the-
hour.
Yeah, this
Hour
really
plus.
was. Russell, what would you say real quick? But it's costing, a lot of people are really tight budgeted today. What would you say to that? And I know what Maureen would say, and you know, it's a lot more expensive to get sick. But what would you say to people that are going, guys, I just don't have the money?
So a couple of things. First, health is our greatest wealth. Sounds like a trite phrase, but it's true. And, you know, I would like to acknowledge Alan Noble for his persistence in trying to remind us that we're not in the convincing business.
That's right.
It's not my job to convince somebody that they should drink 8 ounces of ASEA every day. It is my job to ask them if they'd like to learn about a technology that has the potential to help their body do what it's genetically programmed to do. Are they genuinely, seriously interested in being the best version of themselves physically, physiologically? Because there isn't anything that can help the body achieve that than the right amount of redox signaling supplements in their system. So we're in the sorting business. We're looking for people who are looking for this. And guess what? When the right people find this, they let us know. And they say,
Beautiful.
thank you. So
Exactly.
I think that's,
Well, guys,
very
that's
good.
a very important distinction. And it just is so helpful when you come from that place of confidence. You know, what Ray was just saying a couple of minutes ago, there's a physiological basis for asking people to give this 3 to 6 months. You know what that is? Most of the cells of our body have a 90 to 120 day life cycle. So on day 1, when you start drinking this, those cells start to heal. Certain percentage of the damaged cells in your body start to heal. If you don't give it at least 3 months, you will not have enough cellular turnover before you could start to feel better. So if people give up after 30 days, they have really missed an incredible opportunity to experience a breakthrough, to experience a miracle. And so we because that's what we want, that we're in the business of helping people have breakthroughs. And in order for those breakthroughs to happen, people need to be properly educated and informed.
That's right.
You know, our founder, Tyler Norton, says that his biggest fear is that we don't do what you just said, Russell, that we don't educate. And if they're not educated, they don't take it correctly, and people will suffer. And it breaks my heart that people just go, oh, you're just trying to sell me more stuff. No, I'm trying to give your body what your body needs to be proactive for your health. So, guys, this was phenomenal. That's why I love Russell and Ray. You were such a beautiful addition this evening. So
Both spot on. Thank you.
after this recording will be at redoxmatters.com this evening. For my team, we will have the Vimeo ready shortly. Dr. Ray, thank you so much for taking your time. Russell, beautiful. We are going to be taking off 2 weeks, so we will be back on August the 2nd to kick things off and to get things going and getting ready for our September conference in Salt Lake City with ASEA. So with that, guys, thank you so much. God bless.
Thanks, everyone.
Go to redoxmatters.com. Look at the video tab, because that's where all the recordings are. All the recordings are there, and get your blue bottle. Get back to the one that brought you on this show. If you listen to the recording, thank the person that did it. The biggest miracle for me was when my best friend called me.
9 years ago.
Because I wouldn't have known about it any other way.
Right.
The biggest miracle is when somebody reached out to you and shared it with you.
Yep.
Because where would you be without this? I shudder to think where I would be without this.
Yeah.
I don't believe I would be here. I don't want to get off on that. So with that, Russell, as always,
guys.
thank you so much. You are a regular, Dr. Ray. Thank you for filling in for
Yeah.
me and Maureen.
Yeah.
So, guys, thank you. God bless,
Thanks
and we'll
again,
see you
y'all.
in 2
Thank
weeks.
you,
Have a
Jim.
great
Thank you,
July.
man. Thank you, Russell.
We'll see you in
Thank Russell.
August.
Bye.
Thank you.
Great
God
to
bless,
see
guys.
you, Ray.
Everybody.
Thanks.
Thanks,
See you,
Jim.
Russell.
Thanks,
Good
Ann.
weekend.
Thank y'all. Bye
See you
bye.
Bye.
in Salt
Everybody.
Lake City. See you in Salt Lake City.
That's
Yeah.
it.
There you go.
That's right. Yes.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.